Elon Musk eventually took over as the CEO of PayPal, and Elon Musk's company X.com was very efficient, and there was a lot of clashes that happened. He eventually, while on vacation, got fired from being the CEO of PayPal. But then now, 20 years later, we see that he buys Twitter and renames it X.com. It's just weird to see that 20-year kind of vendetta, like some of his personal issues rising to the surface. That's the one thing that I'm like kind of questioning as he's going back to Tesla, and I'm wondering, like, can he pull Tesla out of its current slump? And it's like, well, is he going to be able to get over some of his personal things that he has to deal with? I think Elon Musk is sharing some of the pressure and weight right now too, though. And obviously we're joking about Democratic senators and stuff. Just some of the things recently, obviously he can be hot-headed and stuff, but also very passionate about his beliefs and stuff. Obviously he's disagreed with Trump on the tariffs. That's one thing that I think is worth stating. We also saw this last week. He had a WWE match in the White House with Secretary Scott Bessent within earshot of President Trump this last week about a dispute about the IRS. And this was in the White House. And obviously what we saw was Elon Musk, very, very stressed out. And like my personal opinion when I see stuff like that is maybe that happens more often than we see, as like normal lay people watching the news. But I think some of those pressures could just be what's happening at Tesla and then him trying to juggle so many things at one time.
Yeah, and I think some of that is just, that's kind of his personality, is just to go all in on things and learn. And how to do, like, he couldn't find somebody to build rockets the way he wanted, so he studied and learned how to build rockets himself. Whether it's the stress of it coming down, or it's just sort of an outworking of his personality and his approach to things. Is this really anything different? Like, as far as what he's already, the pattern in his own life and how he approaches things and that sort of stuff. That's kind of, I would argue maybe it's not so different, but because this is kind of a conglomeration of all the patterns I think we've already seen.
Yeah, one thing you're making me think about is, so he was one of the early CEOs of PayPal, and that was after it was actually named Confinity originally, which is like mix of confidence and infinity, and it was just a payment processing platform. And Elon Musk had actually founded X.com, which was, surprisingly enough, which was a early online banking platform. And so X.com in 1999, I believe it was, merged with Confinity and they became PayPal. And Elon Musk eventually took over as the CEO of PayPal, and he was also the major shareholder. But what happened was, I'm going to break in for a second and say, if you're enjoying this episode, stick around. And at the end, I'm going to show you how you can get access to exclusive content that's only found on locals.com. But what happened was, when they merged as two different companies, quickly the founders of Confinity started realizing, like, this is going to be a really rough, rocky road, because our company has one working environment and one culture, which is very fun and laid back. And they were very much just like idea driven and stuff. And Elon Musk's company X.com was very efficient and just like, we are working hard and we're going nonstop.
Robotic.
And when the very robotic. Yeah. And when the two companies tried to merge, there was a lot of clashes that happened, and eventually that was part of the reason why he eventually, while on vacation, got fired from being the CEO of PayPal. But that's just how he works. Like, he's efficiency to the max. That's how he brought Tesla, back from the grave, essentially, when it was going bankrupt originally. He took over there. So there's a lot of things about Elon Musk that I think are very awesome. He's very good at what he does. I've heard him literally this week. I was listening to somebody talk about him, and they were, about him leaving Doja stuff, and they referred to him as the Albert Einstein of our time. So he's obviously very, very smart in some ways, but I think there's a little bit of a potential vendetta there, because if you just look at like his history, and some of the decisions he's made, X.com, being swallowed up by the, birthing of PayPal. And one of the things he wanted later was, while they were like hemorrhaging money as a company, he wanted to rebrand it back to X.com, which was a bad idea at the time. Yeah. And when they polled people said, we don't want to bank with a company that has X in it because it sounds like a bad website, basically,
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want to
soon for that.
Exactly. People are like, we don't want to use that, to buy stuff, because it's going to show up on the car, on the transaction receipt and everything.
That's right. Funny.
So, it's just a generally like bad dissent about that term and using it as a payment processor. But he wanted to rebrand to X.com, and it was rejected by the other founders of Confinity. But then now, 20 years later, we see that he buys Twitter and renames it X.com,
Man, I really wish you didn't do, because it's so annoying to say that. Like, what do you say? Like, I can't say what I tweeted anymore.
Re-X somebody.
I still say I'm tweeting. I just tweeted it. I still say it. But it's just weird to see that, it's kind of the idea of like 20-year kind of vendetta maybe, but potentially, and like some of his personal issues rising to the surface. That's the one thing that I'm like kind of questioning as he's going back to Tesla, and I'm looking and I'm wondering, like, can he pull Tesla out of its current slump? And it's like, well, is he going to be able to get over some of his personal things that he has to deal with, I think, in making decisions? Because obviously he's a very, very smart, intelligent person, but he also obviously deals with some personal issues, that do crop up from time to time. I think there is a point where somebody gets to a certain point of extreme wealth, like Elon Musk has, and it's really probably not about making more money for his own personal bank account anymore. It's about, but he doesn't want to use everything he has to fund his next project. So it's about finding the funding somewhere else.
He must maintain that status
to be able to do the next big thing that he wants to do with his life, And I mean, we see that. I was watching an interview from him recently on Fox News, a very recent interview where he literally he reposted this interview on his X account 2 days ago on Tuesday, and he talked about the low birth rate in the world, and literally said humanity is dying, and this is something that he's like saying, this is behind a lot of the things I'm doing, right? He talked about strengthening the columns of society. And one of those columns specifically that he believes is America itself. So he said, one of the reasons I'm doing Doge and I'm doing all of this is because I'm trying to strengthen this column called America, which is one of the columns of society right now. And he said, if America goes down, he believes it's essentially going to be removing a column, that's going to drastically impact the future of humanity. And he put a heavy weight on that, and he said essentially it's a heavy weight that's weighing on him. So obviously we see that with, him saying, hey, let's go to Mars. Obviously electric vehicles, like he has this weight on his shoulders of, let's try to do the next thing, whether it's the right thing or not for humanity, whether humanity needs it or not. At least that's what he's putting forth, is like, this is the thing that is going to help save humanity. And I don't agree with all those thoughts and those ideas and opinions, but at the same time, it's what he's doing, and so obviously he has this motivating factor of the big picture, do the next right thing, save humanity. And I think that can be some of what he's doing, is like trying to get the funding to do something that maybe someone else hasn't done. And because he's thinking, I'm thinking about these things and other people just aren't even thinking about them,
My very last point about thought about Elon Musk, I know we kind of hinted at this, but I think I just wanted to drive it home, because y'all mentioned about Elon Musk being super wealthy, and he has this vision for the future, and he's trying to enact it. And it occurred to me, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He has enough money to basically do whatever he wants to do. He has enough money, he has the resources to be able to enact his vision for the future. But I think this is a big reason why he's ingratiating himself with the government. Another reason it could be is because we've seen this with the stuff he wants to do with SpaceX. He runs into the government all the time, telling him, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. And so I think that's actually, it's not about the money, it's actually about he needs the government to get off his back and give him the thumbs up to do whatever he wants to do for him to be able to enact the future. He has the money to enact the future. The government is standing in his way, good or bad. We could talk about, well, are they standing in his way? We could talk about that, obviously, but good or bad, I think you're going to continue seeing people like Elon Musk. And that's why they end up ingratiating themselves into the government and try to get into the current establishment. And if the next establishment is right wing, I think that's better for the country. But he wants to get in there because he wants to be able to do what he wants to do without having it slapped down every single time by regulators. And so he has enough money to do what he wants to do, but he doesn't always have permission to do what he wants to do. So what I have pulled up here is for y'all to see is a picture of the top 6 potential candidates. I'm only going to talk about 2. The first one we're going to talk about is this guy down here. His name is Robert Sarah. He could be the first African pope. He is incredibly based. He is definitely the most conservative. The more likely scenario is actually that we're going to get this guy, and he has been referred to as the Asian Francis.